Are you sure you know the world you live in? The truth is that many people have preconceived ideas about countries, cultures, and statistics, and they barely realize that they are completely wrong. Because, yes, the shortest international flight in the world takes less time than a shower. And no, the richest countries do not lead the rankings that you imagine. That is the magic of accurate curiosities. They deconstruct myths, shake certainties, and reveal a reality that few see. In this video, you will discover data that seems like a lie, but is completely true. You will laugh, be shocked, and, most importantly, learn. And the best part? No complications, no technical blah blah blah, just incredible facts explained as if we were having a coffee and exchanging ideas. The world is much stranger and fascinating than it seems. And today you will see it with your own eyes. Have you ever imagined taking an international flight that takes less time than many bus trips within a city? Well, this curiosity is real. The flight between Kinshasa and Brazzaville, two cities separated by the Congo River, covers only 24 kilometers, a stretch so short that it almost seems like a joke. It's the kind of detail that goes unnoticed in school, but which reveals how geography and geopolitics can create unique situations. While many people think that flying always means hours in the air, this route proves the opposite. And the most curious thing, the flight is still faster than the boat crossing. But speaking of extremes, how about exploring the opposite side of this story? When we look at overpopulated islands, surprises are also guaranteed. Most people would bet that the United States or China top this list, right? No way. Islands like Java, in Indonesia, and Honshu, in Japan, dominate this ranking by a large margin. Java, for example, is home to more than 150 million people. That's the equivalent of cramming half the population of the United States into a single piece of land surrounded by water. A real practical lesson in population density. This kind of data throws our logic into disarray, doesn't it? Because we tend to imagine the richest countries leading in everything, including population presence and concentration. But when it comes to islands, the map changes completely. These geographical curiosities make us rethink what we think we know about the world. And guess what? This reversal of expectations also appears in even more unexpected areas, like health, for example. If someone were to ask you which country has the most hospital beds per capita, I bet names like Germany, Japan, or Switzerland would come to mind, right? But the answer is surprising. It's North Korea. Yes, that's right. Despite the controversies and severe internal restrictions, this country leads this statistic by a wide margin. Of course, quantity does not mean quality, but it is still a curiosity that highlights how numbers sometimes do not tell the whole story. We need to learn to look beyond the obvious. On the other side of the spectrum, we have Zimbabwe, an African country that, unfortunately, appears at the top of another ranking, that of traffic deaths per capita. This reveals not only an infrastructure problem, but also deep cultural and educational issues. You know that tip about paying attention to the way people drive in a country you visit? Well, in this case, it's not just a tip, it's a measure of survival. These data reveal glaring inequalities between regions of the world that we often barely notice. These contrasting statistics invite us to reflect on what development really means. Is it having an abundance of hospital beds or avoiding unnecessary deaths on the roads? Or perhaps a bit of both? What's fascinating is how these patterns are repeated in other areas, including sectors like energy and the environment, where the rankings also feature unexpected leaders. When it comes to solar energy, most people think of Germany or the Scandinavian countries. But China is the clear leader. That's right, the world's most populous country is also the one that invests the most in clean energy, with solar panels scattered even across deserts and on top of urban buildings. This interesting fact shows how China, despite being often seen as an environmental villain, is also setting the pace of the global energy transition. For those thinking of investing in the renewable energy sector, following China's moves is more than just a smart move, it's almost like a compass. And then comes the economic turnaround. Would you have imagined that the Seychelles, an archipelago in the middle of the ocean, surpasses the entire African continent in GDP per capita? That's right. With luxury tourism, high-level fishing, and international tax incentives, the country has achieved a turnaround that few expected. While many places face challenges to grow, the Seychelles has known how to use its natural resources as an asset, a lesson in economic creativity for those who think that size or location define success. And if the subject is the environment, it's worth opening your eyes to a powerful detail. There are countries that are carbon negative. This means that they absorb more CO2 than they emit, as is the case of Bhutan and Gabon. It's as if they were cleaning up the mess left by the rest of the world. It's a reminder that sustainability doesn't just depend on large economies, but on political and cultural decisions aligned with preservation. And speaking of nature, the most extreme phenomena on the planet also hide curiosities that will leave you speechless. Mount Everest is one of nature's most imposing icons, but have you ever stopped to think about how much it weighs? Well, according to geological estimates, it weighs an impressive 161 trillion kilos. That's right, trillions. It's as if the mountain's grandeur is revealed not only in its height, but also in its colossal density. A curiosity that reminds us how much the Earth is a sleeping giant, hiding forces that we can't always measure exactly, but that are there, silent and powerful. Now, if Everest represents the power of the Earth, Cyclone Olivia gives us a glimpse of what the air is capable of. In 1996, this natural phenomenon recorded the most intense gust of wind ever measured, 407 kilometers per hour. That's faster than a Formula One car. Imagine the impact that would have on a city or any structure. It's no surprise that winds of this type have the potential to rewrite entire landscapes, as is often the case in tropical and coastal regions. And that's where the question arises: to what extent are we prepared to live with such indomitable forces? These natural extremes, which range from solid to ethereal, show us that the Earth is not just a backdrop, but an active protagonist in our history. And, curiously, there are countries that are formed or shaped precisely by these forces. In fact, some have such peculiar shapes and such unexpected borders that it seems as if nature itself made a point of playing with the world map. There are countries whose shape on the map looks like the result of a child's play with modeling clay. Benin, in West Africa, is a great example of this. It has a narrow and elongated shape, almost as if it were a crooked rectangle stretched vertically. This unusual shape is a direct reflection of the arbitrary colonial borders imposed by the European powers, without taking geography, culture, or logic into account. A curiosity that helps to understand why so many territorial conflicts persist to this day in various regions of the continent. But world geography is not limited to strange shapes. The borders themselves also hold surprises. Liechtenstein, for example, is one of the few countries in the world surrounded by just one nation, Austria. Yes, it doesn't even border Switzerland, as many people think. And the most curious thing is that this condition of partial isolation allows the country to maintain remarkable political and economic stability without major external interference. A good example of how, sometimes, being in the hot seat can be a strategic advantage. These geographical details, which many consider trivial, actually say a lot about the identity and destiny of a nation. Borders, shapes, positions, all of these influence everything from politics to culture. And when we delve deeper into these unusual statistics, we discover that the world is stranger and more fascinating than it seems. Even the simplest numbers, such as population or the number of dogs, can hide contrasts that are as absurd as they are revealing. The United States is known for its many superlatives, and among them is its sheer number of dogs. There are more than 90 million dogs spread throughout the country. Can you imagine? That's like there's almost one dog for every 3 people. But here's the surprise. In terms of dogs per capita, the trophy goes to Hungary. Yes, the land of thermal spas and paprika is also the champion in dog density. This curiosity shows how culture and lifestyle influence even the pets we choose to keep around. Another impressive statistic comes from India. This country, which has already surpassed China in total population, is also home to more Hindus than the total number of people living in all of the Americas combined, including North, Central, and South America. Can you believe it? These numbers help put into perspective the colossal size of certain countries, not only in area but also in cultural, spiritual, and demographic expression. It's a force that shapes the planet in quiet but profound ways. These curious facts invite us to rethink what we consider normal when we look at the world. And the truth is that, often, it is precisely the extremes that reveal the essence of a culture or society. And speaking of extremes, did you know that some buildings around the planet are so enormous that they look like entire cities stacked on top of each other? In China, everything seems to take on almost mythical proportions, and construction is no different. It is there that the world's largest bridge is located, the Danyangkunshan Grand Bridge, which is an absurd 165 kilometers long. To give you an idea, that's more than the distance between Sao Paulo and Campinas. The bridge is part of the high-speed rail line between Beijing and Shanghai, showing how bold an infrastructure can be when you think big. A curiosity that combines cutting-edge engineering with national ambition. But the surprises don't stop there. Also in China is the world's largest residential building, known as the T30 region, in Wuhan. This urban colossus has the capacity to house up to 30,000 people, practically a vertical city. There are schools, supermarkets, gyms, and even hospitals, all there, stacked dozens of stories high. This concept of cities within buildings is a practical response to the challenge of overpopulation, but also a living experiment on how we will live in the future. These megastructures make us question the limits of human coexistence and urban planning. Will we live in increasingly overcrowded conditions? Or could the answer lie in relearning how to occupy spaces intelligently? The truth is that the world is constantly changing, and those who pay attention to these curiosities can anticipate changes. After all, this type of knowledge doesn't exist just to impress. It prepares us to think differently. After all this, tell me, how many of these curiosities did you really know? How many made you rethink what you thought you knew about the world? The truth is that the more we learn, the more we realize how much there is still to discover. And the most interesting thing, it is precisely this unexpected knowledge that gives us an advantage. Because those who know the world from the inside think better, make better decisions, live better. So, how about turning this curiosity into a habit? Choose one of these pieces of information and share it with someone today. Share this conversation with a group of friends, a family conversation, or even on your social networks. Now, tell me, which of these discoveries surprised you the most? Did you imagine that something so unlikely could be real? If this content awakened something in you, don't leave without subscribing to the channel. Turn on notifications, because in the next videos there will be much more interesting stuff to come, and I want you here, learning with me, one discovery at a time.